Okay, so we're on the draw here, and hand, it doesn't look great. We don't have 2 lands, so I'm going to go ahead and mulligan. This hand, I think we can keep. Obviously, we're going to need to look for a swamp, or a black source, rather. So I think even though the Shafet Dunes is a land, we have to bottom that. We also have Renegade Map as a draw, so we have a decent amount of black sources we can find here to cast some of our early spells. Mount and go, huh? So, unclear exactly what that means. We'll see. Maybe it's Ramunap bread. Second mountain means probably Ramunap bread. So we're going to take the 2 here. Alright, well, it's a delayed swamp. Hopefully we don't fall too far behind because of these mana stumbles, but it's definitely possible that happens. As here's an on-crop crasher, and we're already at 13, so this game could be over before it even began, essentially. Okay, concealed courtyard. We can either hold up start to finish or just go hidden stockpile. Alright, I'm going to go for the stockpile. I think that we want to just be killing the Kenra this turn anyways. And it's going to be nice to have this in play. Also, I don't really like going for the start to finish here because a double block on the Crasher seems pretty unlikely to work out. So I'm going to go for the Fatal Push. Hopefully our opponent doesn't have a good follow-up, though. Looks like possibly Hazoret, though. And it is. Big ol' Hazoret hitting play here. So, yep. Just going to pass the turn here with start-finish available. We can cast it to make 2 blockers. Block the on-crop crasher. And then, even if our opponent has a removal for one of the tokens, we still get to Fatal Push, potentially. So, here's an Abrade that's going to take care of a warrior. So now we can go ahead and Fatal Push away the on-crop crasher. And interestingly, our opponent could have attacked with Hazoret that turn, but chose not to. Well, I'm okay with getting in with the warrior here because we want to trigger Revolt anyways. And it looks like our opponent's going to discard a mountain. That's going to enable the block. But we can get a scry out of this deal. So let's do that. There's Fumigate on top. Don't think we want to Fumigate at this point. Legion's Landing does provide us a way to gain life, which is pretty important in this situation. We are going to have to chump the Hazoret. And here's the Earthshaker Kenra coming back for a second for value. So we can block. We're going to get to attack, and then we can start to finish away the Kenra. But yeah, still a very bad spot. And lightning strike to the face. Yep, that was going to be good enough. So game 1 goes to the red deck, but hopefully we can bounce back here. Authority and Sunscorched Champion are both nice sideboard cards for the matchup. And so is Angel of Sanctions. You can board an Angel of Sanctions. It depends if they're going for Glorybringer and Chandra, how good it is. But yeah, Vraska isn't actually that important in the matchup, so I'm fine with taking out the Vraskas and the Forest as well, because the deck no longer plays green once you take out the copies of Vraska, Relic Seeker. And then Fumigate is a little bit slow. I'm fine with going down to 2 of those, so I'm going to try this. And turn 1 Authority. Once again, no black source. I'm going to keep it though on the back of the Authority. And we'll see what this red deck can do here. Okay, so we can cast Start next turn, which should be helpful. Our opponent's probably going to play like a Kenra or a Karizev here, which is going to be... I mean, all of the creatures are less impactful because of Authority, but eventually they will catch up to us, so... Yep, there's a Kenra. So we can just trade one of our tokens that we're going to make for that. Of course, we do have to be worried a little bit about the Eternalized later, as we saw in the last game. But, wow, we just really need a black source here. I mean, the deck does play more black than... I mean, does play more white. There's more white spells in the deck, but you still need both colors. There's 2 Deadlands, some Swamps, of course, Concealed Courtyard, Renegade Map, Evolving Wilds, plenty of cards. And there's a Swamp, okay. So, now the unfortunate part of it is that we don't have any easy way to get Revolt now that our tokens are gone, so I'm just going to go ahead and Fatal Push the Karizev this turn. And hopefully our opponent doesn't have a big play like a Chandra. And if it's just more creatures, we can try to stem the bleeding. But here's a Chandra, so that's pretty much exactly what we did not want to see. And a Karizev. Okay, so pretty good draw from our opponent here. We were able to find an Anointer Priest, so just going to go ahead and play that right out and put that into play here. Our opponent could kill it with Chandra, but I would suspect our opponent just goes up. And there's a Lightning Strike. That will probably be headed towards the Anointer Priest, and it is. Now we're still looking for a land here. If we're able to Angel of Sanctions away this Chandra, that will put us in a decent spot. And here's a land. Okay. So that's what we wanted. Hopefully our opponent doesn't have another copy of Chandra. Obviously, that would be pretty annoying. But we're still at 20 life. We're at a decent life total. We have Authority. We have Hidden Stockpile and another stockpile in hand. So it's going to come down to what our opponent can muster up this turn. And it looks like it might be 2 burn spells heading at the Angel of Sanctions, which is pretty unfortunate. However, if we draw a land, we can simply use the Embalm on the Angel of Sanctions. It does cost 6. And that would put us in a nice spot. Alright, no land right away. But we do have that Anointer Priest in the graveyard. Plus we drew a Legion's Landing. So I'm going to go ahead and play that right out. Gain a life. And now we've got plenty in play to get these hidden stockpiles going. So even though the opponent has Chandra, we're not in bad shape, I don't think. Here's going to be the Eternalize. Yeah, I think we're the favorite in the game. We're not out of the woods though. All right, Evolving Wilds, pretty good pickup here. So I think we want to start with an attack. And definitely want to play the second copy of Hidden Stockpile. We can get rid of this Kenra, which I think it just makes sense to do that. I'm going to sacrifice the Lifelink Warrior. And now we've got 2 Hidden Stockpiles and an Anointer Priest going. We have this Evolving Wilds. Both represents our 6th land and a Revolt Enabler. It looks like our opponent did find a copy of Pia. That's interesting. So our opponent is going to come in with the Earthshaker Kenra. Don't think we want to block. So the question is, how do we want to deal with the Chandra? We can actually take care of it in a couple of different ways. We can use the Shafet Dunes and just take it out, or we could, by attacking it, or we could bring back the Angel of Sanctions. I actually like the idea of using the Shafet Dunes. That way we save the Angel, and we get the 2 more tokens because of Revolt, which is pretty big deal. And we know that because our opponent has 0 cards in hand, that they will have no way to protect the Chandra there. So they really only have this Thopter capable of pressuring us, but we also were able to flip the Legion's Landing into Adanto the first. And so, yeah, I think this is a very good spot. I'm going to go ahead and try to kill off the Pia. We're at such a high life total that we can afford to be making these types of blocks. And, alright, so our opponent was able to find a Lightning Strike, but even so, and is able to pump the Thopter a couple times, but we're still not too worried. We have the Sunscourge Champion in hand. And there's an Ifnir Deadlands. So I actually like using the Deadlands, I think, this turn. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and take care of the Pia. I think that's the most annoying of the creatures. And I guess I may have missed a scry with the stockpile there. Could have sacrificed the Lightning Strike token. So that's my fault. Sometimes you play too quickly because you're ahead and you miss little things like that. Probably will not matter. Even a card like Hazoret or Chandra, we've been saving that Angel in the graveyard, And yeah, our opponent's just gonna pack it in for this game. So we're on to the decider. That sideboard plan felt pretty good. I don't think we want Vraska and the Forest. I think we just go over the top with the Angels. Seem really nice here. So I'm just gonna submit this. Have not drawn Anointed Procession yet. That would allow us to spiral our token making more out of control. Here's an interesting hand. I am going to keep. We finally have 2 colors of mana to work with. We don't have that many lands on the other hand, but we'll see what we can do. Our opponent is not starting with a 1-drop, so that's pretty good news. But expect one of those 2 mana threats. It's going to be a Kenra. That's actually not as scary as Karizev. Because if we play Anointer Priest, it's going to at least threaten to block the Earthshaker Kenra. Although we could also just play out the Renegade map. But I like getting the Priest into play. It forces our opponent to either deal with it or not have it block. And next turn we can play Stockpile and have Revolt with the Evolving Wilds, which is pretty great. So now we have an easy blocker for the Earthshaker Kenra in a 1/1 servo. And we have 2 cast outs in hand in case our opponent has their bigger mana plays, but okay. So it's Pia coming down. We're also moving towards casting Fumigate. Perfectly fine with just blocking here, preserving our life total. Anointed Procession, huh? That's an interesting draw. So I think we want to just play that out. It's definitely powerful to have it in play. And we have the Anointer Priest in the graveyard, which we can get back and start gaining life with. Unfortunately, there was no good opportunity to get the Renegade map into play, which would have been good. The Ferocidon is also pretty annoying. Alright, would have really liked to land in that spot. But we can still get back the Anointer Priest if we want to. Huh. We could also just cast out the Ferocidon, which is probably the safest of the plays available to us. Yeah, I'm gonna go for the cast out line. But it's a close game. I mean, we're in danger of getting cheesed out a little bit. We definitely have the inevitability in the late game. But our opponent has 3 spells in hand, most likely. Expect Hazoret to be one of them. We're going to at least 9, possibly lower than that this turn. So, okay, here's on Crop Crasher. So our opponent's making a move here. So we can lock down the Ferocidon, but that's still a good hefty amount of damage coming across. Still want that untapped land. There we go. That was key. So now we can sweep the board. Our opponent actually has the ability now to sacrifice the Thopter. Means we're gaining one less life. And smartly decides to do so. So we're hoping that Hazoret will not be attacking us this turn. Glorybringer instead. Okay, Glorybringer is pretty bad news also. Actually, very bad news. So our opponent's down to one card. There's an Authority. So I think this turn we have to go Authority plus Cast Out. Hope to not die. So now we're protected to a certain extent. Our opponent probably knows we have the Cast Out at this point. Alright, so there's a Harsh Mentor. That's going to stop some of our activations. But we still care much more about this Glorybringer. Our opponent does have that Earthshaker Kenra. I think in the graveyard, I think we want to just go for the Embalm here on the Anointer Priest. Gain some life. Because we are going to get 4 triggers because of the Anointed Procession. And this is how this deck really starts to turn the corner. So we were able to get out a Burn Rage there, which is pretty key. There's an Abrade that's going to take out the Anointed Priest, but now we actually get the Stockpile trigger, so that did not work out well really for our opponent. I wonder if they were thinking about the hidden Stockpile trigger in that spot. Our opponent's Hellbent can bring back the Earthshaker Kenra, sure, but it comes into play tapped. And if our opponent comes in with the Harsh Mentor, I'm perfectly happy just blocking with servos, but looks like our opponent is going to leave back that Harsh Mentor there. So we have the Renegade map. We can sacrifice for Revolt. It's probably worth it, even though we're going to take 2. Yeah. So we take 2 from the Harsh Mentor. But that's okay, because we're going to really extend our board presence here. And yep, that's going to be the match here.